John, do you ever use this in one way or the other by saying, I don't think you can do this to motivate them to prove you wrong? Or more general question of, the mental toughness required to achieve or confidence required to achieve greatness? Like, what's your role as a coach when you have these two athletes?
With regards to your first question, would I ever say to someone, you can't do this, as a kind of reverse psychology? No. My job is to prepare people first and foremost with their skills. And as Gordon pointed out earlier, if you're in any way a rational human being and you're noticing that you're getting tremendous success with a given move in the gym against high-level opponents who give a good read on what your actual opponent in a competition is like, you would have to be a moron to not recognize that kind of success and say, this is something I should be building into my game, and you will carry the confidence that you earned in the gym into the arena. So I never try to use reverse psychology. I build up everything I do in terms of confidence is to give people physical skills. I know people say, oh, there's physicality on the one hand, there's mentality on the other, and confidence is squarely in the mental aspect of the game. But all the underpinnings and beginnings of confidence are physical. Okay, a rational human being will see where they're having success and where they're having failure. And confidence will surround those areas where they're having success and will degenerate in cases where they're having failure. So my job as a coach is to set them up for success in the gym with a given set of skills. And I don't have to do anything psychologically after that. If I can set you up to be highly successful with a given move or a set of tactics 10 times in a row against quality opposition in the gym, I don't have to do a damn thing when it comes to instilling confidence. I will tell people, hey, you're doing a really good job with that move. It's working well for you. But when they nod in agreement, I'm not trying to force anything on them. They already recognize that long before the words came out of my mouth. But on the other hand, intelligent, rational people will recognize when they're failing with given moves, and no amount of talk on my part can ever change that. If I teach Gordon a given arm lock, and 15 times in a row he tries it over a month, and all 15 are failures, there's nothing I can say verbally to come up to Gordon and say, hey, you're really good at that move. He's going to look at me and say, bullshit, I'm terrible at it. And that will create a crisis of confidence where Gordon no longer believes the words coming out of my mouth. So I will never compromise that.
But isn't there a line? You just said 15. You have to believe that doing this arm lock 15 times over a period of a month is worth it, because eventually you might get it. Like,
yeah, that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue. There are times where I've more or less pushed athletes to go in a certain direction. For example, when I first met Gary Tonin, he never had a guillotine strangle. And I would say to him, Gary, you're a scrambler. Like, one of the greatest weapons a scrambler can ever develop is a guillotine. Like, it should be in your arsenal. And he was like, no, I just scramble for the back. And I said, well, there's going to be a day you can't take someone's back. And it's always good to be able to strangle from front and back. Okay, of course, we all prefer strangles from the back. That makes sense. But there's going to come a day where it's going to be useful for you. And so that was one of the few times where I put my foot down and said, you're learning this, shut the fuck up. And
he literally wouldn't teach him anything else until he got a guillotine. Gary would ask him a question. He's like, let's see your guillotine.
And for the first 3 months, as gifted as Gary Tonin is in learning most moves Gary gets it in minutes. There was something going on with Gary, just couldn't get a guillotine on people. And finally, after around 3 months, he started having some success until ultimately it became one of his best weapons. We had to go through 15 different variations of guillotine until he found one which actually worked reliably for him. And that was one of the few times where I put my foot down and said, no, you have to learn this.
So the long search had to do more with the physical characteristics. You couldn't figure out the right
it made
kind
sense. It made sense in the case of Gary Tonin because there were more opportunities per minute of his grappling for guillotines that the investment in time was worth it. For another athlete, I might have said, well, he hardly ever gets in this situation, but front and headlocks or guillotine, so it's not even worth investing the training time.